No beginning
No
screen,
preamble.
none of right.
Just tossing us right in the deep end. All right.
Good
Okay.
good times to be had for all.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is just me and Greg today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, kind of talking about book 4 of The Wheel of Time, The Shadow Rising. And there's so many. There's a lot to that title. Let's just stop and for folks who've read the books, the titles are very much they're foreshadowing as much as everything in the book, because the titles really hold a lot of and it just hit me now. Titles hold a lot of weight um, within this series, um, and you guys will realize as we continue with our talk of book 4 why the Shadow Rising uh, is definitely apropos. Um, all right, so Greg,
Yes.
you've been the one to ask the questions so far. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Okay.
All right. So, favorite scene of book 4?
Ooh, favorite scene of book 4. Well, there's a lot of options to pick from.
There
That's
are.
the what would be my
There
favorite
are indeed.
scene?
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene. I don't think there's like one favorite scene, but I
Okay.
I really I really like the part about the two rivers where when Pern returns to the two rivers and he's fighting for his life and the life of all of his loved ones. He finds out that his family has been slaughtered, presumably by the Trollocs that have invaded the two rivers.
Mhm.
um he also finds out that the White Cloaks are there, so he has an encounter with a couple of encounters with them. Meets Dane Bornhold, which is the son of the captain commander that died fighting at Falme. Um, and and you also have Payton Fane in his new role, who has just basically become part of the White Cloaks, Children of the Light, to be correct. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that area of the book is probably my favorite, but there's so much good stuff going on, Um, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. So mine is actually. I mean, we just talked about this. Mine is. So it's not just one scene. It's a series of 3 scenes, and they happen pretty early on in the book. So not to go into too much spoilery details, but basically, all 3 Perrin, Matt, and Rand are attacked by someone by the Dark One, or one of the Forsaken. They're basically targeted by the Shadow, and they're targeted in very different ways, but very unique ways to them. Um, Perrin is actually attacked by his axe. The axe grows a pair of legs and decides to try and kill him. Um, and it's interesting. Again, they're attacked in very unique ways because for Perrin, and you've seen all throughout the last 3 books, he is of the individuals that left the two rivers, of the children essentially that left the two rivers. He's been the one to try and fight against. Side him and Matt have been the two that have really tried to fight against what they're being changed into. Some might say forced into, some might, but he's really been trying to fight against. For him, and his struggle is picking up the axe and visiting violence upon other people. Because, I mean, from the jump, you Perrin has been described as a gentle giant. He's aware of his strength, he's aware of what he can do, and he doesn't want to do it. And it's coming to a point, and obviously you see it a lot. You see it in stark relief in this book for sure. We'll get into that.
Right.
but him having to finally say, you know what, I got to do what I got to do. And this is the start of that.
All
Shift
right.
to Matt's scene. Go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. You go ahead and
Yeah.
run through this because there's this is a really important piece with
Yes.
the bubbles of evil, basically. So go
Yes. Oh
ahead, run
yeah.
through that.
So then we shift to Matt, and Matt again, he's like Perrin. He's trying to really at this point still fight against what they're all becoming and changing into and essentially growing into. It's almost kind of like a coming of age, just in a very violent and chaotic way for these individuals. But he's out there gambling with some folks, and again, he's leaning into his vices to attempt to shirk his duties. And he's out there gambling, and suddenly the cards attack him. Like the figures, the faces of the cards, like try to stab. Like the king, I think, tries to stab him or something. And he deals with it, and he's kind of looking around because clearly, everyone's gambling, they're drinking, they're out, I believe, at a tavern, if memory serves. And he's looking at everybody there with him, and he's like, "Did you guys see that? Like, is it just me?" And he's realizing, oh well, shit, okay, now things are getting serious. But again, for him, like parent, it's a moment of almost resigned acceptance, like, okay, I can't keep doing this. I clearly have to put my big boy pants on now. And for me, the stark one is Rand. Now Rand, of the three of them, he's really, I mean, he really hasn't been given a choice. He's had to step into who he is. Like he's had to. I mean, he
Mhm.
took up the Kalendor. He took the stone, like s- stone to tear. Like he proclaimed himself openly. Like he of the three, he's stepped into who he is, but he still doesn't like it. And he doesn't like it for very obvious and understandable reason, because of the two options that are laid out before him as he understands it. Either he's going to save the world or he's going to break it. But either choice has a good chance and a very likely chance that he's going to die either way.
Mhm.
So it's a shit sandwich, and he's stuck in the middle. But he's asleep. He's asleep, and for him again, he's asleep, and he's got mirrors, and it's a huge room, well appointed. There's mirrors, lights are off, and he's pulled from sleep. From trying to remember, like a feeling, like just a gut reaction to something, and
Well,
suddenly he's good.
he wakes up, yes. Um, and then go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, and then he comes face to face with, well, his reflection. Several reflections, as a matter of fact. It's so honestly, it's something out. If any of you've ever seen Evil Dead, Army of Darkness,
Mhm.
if you ever seen Army of Darkness, where Ash has to fight a bunch of copies of himself, it's almost like that. Just they're not like small little gremlin size; they're full size copies of Rand Althor, and he has to fight them. And he gets his ass beat. He does survive, and shatters all the mirrors and whole 9 yards. And I can't remember though, because he has two Aiel's guards outside of his door.
Mhm.
Do they hear anything that's going on inside?
They don't come into the room until later, but yeah.
Yeah, because it's like because it's loud. Like the battle is not silent. So it's for me. I'm trying to remember. Do they hear it and they just choose not to go in,
No, I don't
or
think anything like
or
that. I
does
think
he
it just
or does he like lock them out?
it seems like a big long battle, but it's really not. And at this point, Rand is still very, very much the okay. So at this point, he has literal, he's killed his first woman, and that seems to bother him a great deal. And that was in
Who
the
was that?
previous book. That was the merchant and the guards that attacked him on the road.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. He's finally drawing blood. as they say.
Right, right, and he's very disturbed by the fact that he killed a woman because you're not that's
You're
taboo.
not supposed to do
That's
that.
right, right.
Yeah.
So he
And
and these
ironically enough,
maidens,
we see that play out
right.
with certain characters over the next few books.
So actually, I think he might have like blocked them out to make sure they couldn't come in the room because that
Yeah, I
was
think
the
that's what it was.
yeah, that was the fear for him was that he's going to be the cause of the death of these women because that's how he's looking at them right now. They're females.
Yeah, because
They're
it is women out that are guarding him now. Yeah,
right.
that's right. He doesn't want
So
to be responsible.
let's just roll into the story piece of this. So at this point, the book starts out with our main protagonist being in the Stone of Tears. So like you said, Rand is well, the Ale have taken the Stone of Tear, and Rand has come out, taken Kalendor, and basically proclaimed himself the Dragon Reborn. So here they are. They go through these bubbles of evil, which is the first real big thing that happens in this book, which we just talked about. Another, and then very early on into the story, some of the illusions that have been created up to this point start to fall away. Okay, so up until this point in the series, Rand has been betrothed to Egwene.
Hmm.
All right. Now, Egwene at this point is starting to realize that there's other things that she really wants to be Aes Sedai, and in her mind, the things just don't jive. She doesn't necessarily feel the same way towards Rand that she may have once felt.
Yep.
However, there's a new player on the scene, and that's the one of the people that came with Egwene to the Stone of Tyr, and that's Eleni Trakand. Um,
Yep. Who
Eleni,
is the
yeah, go ahead.
crown prince,
Yeah,
crown princess, and future ruler of
Andor.
it's not yeah, it's that wasn't Camelin, it's Candor. Yeah.
Yeah, Andor.
Yep.
So yeah, so in this book early on, Egwene basically nullifies the betrothal and gives a head nod to Eleni that hey, you can have him
He's
basically.
free game now.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that is, Eleni at this point has fallen in love with Rand al'Thor, and now she's able to tell him that, and there's a budding romance going on early in the book
It,
between these two
I
characters.
I'm not a huge fan of that romance, to be honest.
Well,
I like it.
it's interesting. That's throughout the course of the books, that whole thing kind of matures. I don't want to go into too many of the details of that because there's a lot behind that. Eleni is the first one that outside of Egwene. Now, here's the disconnect for you. The Amazon series has Rand al'Thor and Egwene having a physical relationship right from the very beginning. That's not how it happened in the books. For one thing, they're very young in the books, so they're not young adults at this point. They're younger, like 16, 17. The girls themselves are younger. The boys probably right around 20 because that's kind of the theme behind the whole idea is that this person who's a dragon reborn has to be a certain age. That's
Certain
also
age, yeah.
right. That's also what rules out Egwene from being the Dragon Reborn because she is very powerful as a
Oh yeah.
basically could be a very powerful Aes Sedai. She's
Uh-huh.
not Tavarine or anything like that, but she's at this point she's developing into this unique character that you don't really know what is the story behind this girl. She's not the Dragon Reborn. She's not Tavarine, but there's something about her. Okay. Now, Eleni again, daughter heir of Andor, also a powerful is potentially a powerful Aes Sedai. Um,
Hmm.
kind of a spoiled brat, I guess you could say. Um,
Kind of.
yeah. Um, but that's a character that over time kind of grows on you, I think. Um,
She does. She does.
yeah.
I will say that.
So we're up to this point. We're in the tower. There's another character in here that has kind of come into play over like book 2 and book 3. And that's Celine. Now, in this book, Celine is revealed as actually being the Forsaken Lenfer. Now, Lennifer was the lover of Lewis Thurn, who was the dragon.
Hmm.
Or I don't know if she's actually. I think at one point in time they were in a relationship. Um,
Yeah, I think it was prior to him getting married to Liena.
yeah. So in this book, there's a reveal involved, and but before we get to that reveal piece, something else happens while they're in the Stone of Tyr. Uh, there, there's a large attack.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh. And
I,
for
you
me,
want to
this is
go
yeah,
for
I'll
it?
take that away. For me, this is another scene where where you see Rand coming into his own. So there's an attack on Tyr. Basically, there's a horde of what was it like dark fiends, right? Trollocs, I think there
Trollocs,
were
Mydrall.
couple shades, yeah,
Yep.
stuff like that. Attack the Stone of Tyr, assumably coming after Rand. They're coming to kill him, and obviously just kill everything else because that's what they do. And you think like it starts off bleak. It really does. Still, like the stone is getting attacked. Like as a matter of fact, he opens the door after. I think this is directly after the where he
Yep. You're on it
where
right
he
now.
just
The
where he just
mirror,
finished his
the
the mirror
mirrors.
situation, and he opens the door and his guard's dead. I'm pretty sure his guard's dead. I'm
Well,
trying to
at
remember.
at this point, he didn't actually have the Ale Guard. He had Defenders of the Stone.
Okay, okay, yeah, he didn't. I think I think it's after this where he has the ale guard.
Yeah.
A lot happens in this book. Um, so he opens the door and his guards are dead. And in the distance, like he can hear sounds of battle and screaming and stuff. So he's still fucked up from what he had to deal with.
Mhm.
But he has Kalendor in his hands, and you start to learn just how powerful
Yeah,
this
don't.
Sanhedrin is.
Wait. Don't jump to that. Just what's going on with this
But
battle?
but yeah, so the the Stone and Tears getting jacked up, and everyone is pretty much trying to figure out what the hell's going on because no one, I think at this point, no one really knows where the hell they came from. And no one's aware of where they came from, like what happened, how they got in, and it's later, I believe, that you find out because again, there's dark friends intermingled with the group, and that kind of circles back to the reveal that we'll talk about later. Um, so basically everyone's doing their best to kind of keep their heads above water. All the players, you have Lan and Moraine. I think this is also where what's her face. There's that one scene where I believe it's Nynaeve and I want to say it's Egwene. They're I know Nynaeve is part of it, but they're basically running along this balcony, kind of looking down into this, I guess, I don't want to say ballroom, but like it's like a large open like space with a balcony running around it, and the perspective is looking down, and you see Moraine and land basically from the perspective of the viewers, and I think it's not even Egwene. They look like they get overrun by a bunch of Trollocs. Or am I misremembering that?
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty accurate.
Okay,
The
because like I'm trying to, because I remember the reason why that scene sticks out in my head is because again, because of the visual that you get. It's like moraine and land kind of last stand kind of deal. It's kind of cool, especially reading that as a kid. I was like, oh, they're gonna die, but no, that's not what happens. But yeah, basically, to make a long story short, everyone is essentially kind of running around. All the major players are kind of running to and fro, surviving, and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And a lot of people die in this attack.
Hmm.
And you have soldiers, you have civilians essentially,
There's ale there
and
as well.
there's ale that died. Yeah, they had already arrived, and you see them fighting, helping out, fighting, and you get to see just how good the ale fighters are. Again, there's people who've read Dune, who've read Robert Jordan, draw the parallels between the Fremen and the Aiel, and it fits. I'm not going to say Robert Jordan didn't take some inspiration from the Fremen, because he definitely did, but again, the Aiel, I mean, they're absolutely phenomenal fighters, which is very ironic considering a very huge reveal we'll talk about way later. Um, but they're out there fighting and dying, as well, because they're not invincible. But for me, the big thing about this scene is that it kind of circles back to, and especially when you look at it from Rand's perspective in the whole scene, where he's walking through the corridors. And this is before he meets up with a squad of defenders, because I remember that scene also very vividly,
Hmm.
where he meets up with a squad of defenders to start kind of formulating a defense. But he's walking through the corridors, and there's blood and bodies all over the place. It kind of circles back to the first scene in the prologue of the first book with Lewis Theron
So yeah,
and that piece.
yeah, it does. Here's the thing. As he's doing this, so at this point, he's come out. The defenders
Mhm.
were essentially getting their asses kicked. He's gathered some of them together,
Yeah, he's
and
gathered a couple squads.
right, and his because he's going out there and he's fighting. They gain some courage and they start. Suddenly he has
Yes.
this group of
Yeah.
soldiers that's with him, that's
And they're
going
winning.
through and
Like,
and fighting. Well, they're not
mhm.
winning yet. Okay.
Well, they like that little group is. I mean, everybody else is still getting their ass kicked.
Well, but even members of that group, I mean, the head count
That's
kind of
right.
waxes and wanes because
True,
they're
true,
they're they're
true.
dying just as much as they're dealing death to the Trollocs and the Myrdle. Um, Something really strange happens as they're going through the Stone of Tyr, trying to save people. First really strange thing is they see Trollocs fighting and killing other Trollocs,
That's
and
right, they
and
do.
right, and there's a situation where Rand is almost overwhelmed by these Trollocs, but then other Trollocs come in and kill those Trollocs, but they leave Rand alone. They don't
Hmm.
attack him.
That is very, yeah. I can't believe I forgot about that. That is true. Again, foreshadowing.
So,
And so yeah,
well, and along the way, he encounters Celine again. This time he knows who he's encountering though because she's already revealed herself as Lenfer,
mm, yeah,
and
yeah.
she is pinned up against a wall by a Trolloc. And Rand, kills the Trolloc and quote unquote saves
Saves
her.
her.
Did he really
Yeah,
save her? Don't know.
yeah. Honestly, not really. I'm knowing Landfear. I'm pretty sure she had good timing to put herself in that situation. It's just a hunch. Because the Trolloc, you know, manhandling a Forsaken, it's a little suspect.
Well, at this point, Lanfer has already tried to talk Rand into turning to the Shadow.
Yeah, yeah.
Confessing her undying love, and even going so far as to promise him that if he turned to the Shadow, that she would be willing to defy the Dark One. Um, Now there's a
That's
misconception.
a that's a big statement right there.
Right, right. Well, and there's a slight misconception in here on Rand's part because in a moment as Lanford is talking to him, she basically calls not by name, but she calls a a golden haired woman
Mm.
a pale haired or yeah pale haired milkset, and
Yeah.
Rand perceives that as she's talking about Eleni,
Hmm.
um, when it's very possible that she actually is talking about Ileana, which is
Yep.
Louis Thurne's
Lose
wife.
Theron's wife.
Right. So you got that piece.
Who it's assumed that Luz Theron uh left for.
Right. Left her
Be-
for Ileana.
Yep. So that's all happening, and then we get to the crux of the battle where everything kind of seems lost, and Rand. This is not the first, one of the first time, but this is one of many times where he kind of has like a knee jerk reaction and does something kind of stupid in my opinion. Effective but stupid. Because again,
Well,
he has got.
I okay. So first thing that he does is call the lightning,
Mhm.
um, which is really just an incredible thing because in the middle of this battle, he literally raises Calendar up above his head and creates this lightning that just shoots off in all directions through the entire stone and strikes down all the Trollocs in one
Yeah,
blow.
and specifically the Trollocs. And again, this is so to understand for for those who are still kind of reading the story, like the things that Rand has started doing ever since the last book, like the tail end of the last book after he's grabbed Kalendor, are things that have not been seen since the Age of Legends. Like there aren't any people alive. There are no Aes Sedai alive at this moment, aside from like obviously the Forsaken, who even remember or know how to do the things that he's been doing. Like this lightning thing. It's like this ball of like almost black matter that again, like as Greg said, shoots out a bunch of lightning and specifically targets all the enemies, strikes them down with ease. And then, I think it was at the end of the last book, if I'm remembering right, where he cuts open a gate. Again, that power has not been seen since the Age of Legends, and then it was commonplace. Now only a handful of people know how to do that, and then even less know have the power to do that. So the fact that he's just doing it. Now, granted, he is using Kalendor. That is true. So it's amping his power quite significantly. But that's still an incredible feat of strength. Um, but then he does something, as I was getting to after that, very stupid. And this is one of the elements where I like Robert Jordan's writing because in a lot of especially writers of this genre at the time, fantasy writers, even Tolkien, the magic of the universe, the the power of the universe is never solid, like it's never defined. Like the upper limits, like what they can and cannot do is never really defined. But in this next scene that I'm about to describe, Robert Jordan clearly defines a limit to what the one power can do. And again, after that amazing flex, as I'm going to call it, Rand, he moves off and he finds a little girl who unfortunately was killed in the fight. And I mean, everybody's still around. Like again, that what he did, like literally, he raised Calendar up. It was shining like a fucking beacon. I mean, it was a spectacle. But he finds this little girl's body, and he still has Calendar in hand. And you don't. It's never clearly stated if it's Calendar itself, if it's the madness, or both. But Rand gets it into his head that with Kalendor he can do anything. So he does what you can't do. He begins the process of trying to resurrect the girl and bring her back. And he pulls on Kalendor, pulls on the one power and fails. And does it again and again and again. And everyone again, he does it in front of everyone. So people are watching this. Um and more two specific people are there as well. Moraine and Lan. They obviously, their last stand wasn't a last stand. They survived, and they're sitting, standing there watching Rand do this along with everyone else. And the way the scene is described, there's palpable and very noticeable fear on their faces as he's doing this. One, because I think it's half because of the power that he just displayed in wiping out this entire attack, like he was just out for a stroll. And then two, because of what he's trying to do. And obviously Moray knows that no one can bring back the dead. um so again, and then from the description of the books, it's um you don't know again if it's Rand going mad is it because of the taint, because he's using Kalendor, or both. I'd like to think it's both. I personally think it's the madness itself, and then the fact that he's using Kalendor as much as he is. It's probably accelerating the process. But I do want to rewind for a second, because there's one thing that I want to illustrate to show why, for me, Robert Jordan's one of the best writers, best fantasy writers, of his time, and in history. Right alongside Tolkien, is because at the end of the scene where Rand fights his reflections, he does have Kalendor there as well. He sits down on the chest and he puts the blade on his legs, and again he's all bloodied up, all beat up. And I'm paraphrasing, but the next paragraph kind of goes something along the lines of, I'm, I'm basic, and this is Rand thinking to himself, I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna sit down, chill out, take a beat, and in a little while, I'll, you know, get Moraine in here to heal me up. I'll get this sorted. I'll face the world as the Dragon Reborn. But for right now, in this moment, I'm just gonna remember Randalthor. And to me, again, Robert Jordan writes it a lot better than I described it. But to me, that just goes to show how much Rand, not only Rand, but the other Tavarine, Perrin and Matt, but specifically Rand in this case, had like I think at most at this point he's a 20-year-old kid. He's a kid, and he's shouldering literally the entirety of the future of the world on his back.
and doesn't
Gone are the days. Go ahead.
and doesn't really know what it means.
Yeah, he's still like, what yeah, it's like he's stumbling his way through it. And like and it's funny because it kind of harkens back to all those idioms and those sayings. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. It's lonely at the top, kind of deal. And in this scene, you see that, like, he can't turn to anybody else. He's at this point, there's no one else like him that he can turn to. So he's like, I need a minute. I need a second to collect myself. And then obviously then the other scenes progress. But it's and then now, for the audience hearing that and then seeing him trying to resurrect this little girl, he uh he takes it hard that he can't. He takes it real hard that he can't. And again, that whole scene, him trying to resurrect the little girl, takes me, when I read it, all the way back to Lewis Theron in that first scene in the prologue where he's walking through the destroyed castle, and he turns his wife over, Lyanna, and he looks around and he sees the bodies of his family. And the only difference is Lewis Theron knew he couldn't bring her back. He knew she was gone. Where Rand doesn't know that yet.
No. There's
So
At this point there's no one who can train him. So,
no,
he's just kind
yeah,
of he's actually really dangerous because he's very
Oh, extremely
powerful.
dangerous.
He
Yeah,
he has
and
this. Go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
Well, and he has this, this tool of the one power that makes him just so dangerous that there's just no, there's no measurement to it. There's no control
Yeah,
on it. It's like, okay, how much power can this guy actually wield? Because
at this
what?
point, as anybody's guess.
Right. We now know that he can't bring somebody back to life from when they're dead. Death is death. But we
Yeah,
also
you
know
dead and
that
gone.
in one single attack he can kill
An
thousands.
army.
Right.
Yeah,
And he doesn't even have to
wipe
be
out
able
an
to
army.
see them all. you
Yeah,
know.
he could no scope. Just close his eyes and just point, and you're dead. So yeah, it's wild because I think in lore in universe, Kalendor is the most powerful Saint Angrill in existence ever created. I think it's them and then like
Almost.
the seven like rods of power, right?
No, no. Um Kalendor is almost the
Almost
most
okay.
powerful, right? Um there are there are two others that are made to be used in tandem, which we'll come to that later in the story. Um,
Yeah,
but right now, I mean,
that's it.
Kalendor is the
Yeah, it's a
only
nuclear weapon. Yeah,
right. Well, it's the only one of its kind.
mm,
It's there's issues with it, but I don't want to jump ahead with that. But there's
yeah,
definitely issues with it. It's a very powerful item, but there's a catch. So and we'll get to
yeah,
that.
yeah. And kind of circling back to what you said about he's a measure he's crazy strong.
Mhm.
There's another scene that really illustrates this, and it's after this battle, after everybody's kind of like, things are getting cleaned up, people, everyone's taking stock, and essentially Elaine and Egwene come to Rand, and I think this is about the same time where Egwene kind of calls things off with Rand. I think it's that same scene
Mhm.
where Egwene kind of is like, I see you more as a brother than as a you know
Right.
potential life partner. So let's just keep it there. I think it's in that same scene, but we'll get to that part in a second. Um, but Elaine and Egwene essentially come to Rand to try and help train him. And it's in this scene where again they're trying to talk him through how to use the one power from, and again this is from a Sidar perspective, not a Sidon perspective, so they're doing the best that they can. And while both of them we come to learn, and as they grow and throughout the story, they are
Like
both extremely powerful in their own right.
right. But
they're they're
it's kind of like two blind people trying to lead the deaf guy around. You know.
Yeah, essentially, pretty much. They're both very powerful and grow more powerful as the stories progress and as they learn more. But right now, they're both still novices. I think, yeah, they're both still novices at this point. I don't think they've become accepted yet, from what I can remember. I think they're both still novices, or they might have just been raised to like accepted. I think. Can't remember. Basically, they're both still
Right.
bottom of the totem
Right.
pole.
They were both raised to accept it at this point, and then
Okay.
sent on their mission because their
Yeah.
mission was to hunt the Black Jaw.
Yeah. 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 So they're trying to help Rand, with control of the one power. But they quickly realize um, Rand's just built different because he basically flexes on both of them and with ease, almost comically so, just overpowers the both of them. Not one separately, but the both of them.
Hmm.
And again, he's untrained. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's all for him at this point, at least from what it's described, just instinct. He's just going off of his gut at this point, which is impressive, but also very very dangerous. Um, so again, that's another, as Greg was pointing out. Rand is at this point he's been given the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, but he doesn't know what to do with them yet. And there's really, because of who he and what he is, there's no one to train him. Kind of.
Kind of. So All right, so let's round this out just a little bit. The attack. Okay, so the attack on the Stone of Tyr was actually a it came in the form of barges. That's how they got the Trollocs into the storm of into the Stone of Tyr. And there's a couple different Forsaken that were involved here because this whole attack was orchestrated by Samuel,
Hmm.
who sent the Forsaken to kill the Dragon Reborn. Let's
Yeah,
end this quickly. But the Forsaken are not. They're not all on the same team. They're all on their own
yeah,
team,
they're definitely
right?
not fucking friends.
And the incidents where Trollocs fighting Trollocs were Simmerhag, the spider, or no, Simmerhag's not the spider. But anyway, Simmerhag sent Trollocs to thwart Samuel's plan. Sent Shadowspawn there to fight Samuel's Shadowspawn. So that helped a lot in being able to save more lives of people there. That was definitely not Simmerhag's intention. Her intention was just simply to stop Samuel from being able to take out the Dragon Reborn and gain favor.
Yeah, yeah, they're like the Forsaken are some of they're allies of convenience, but more so they're usually enemies, even to each other.
Right. Why do they plot against each other?
Oh yeah.
So now, after all that's done, now this next part, I know you got some things to say about this next part, so I'm kind of just going to set this up and
Mhm.
kind of let you talk about this piece. But all right, so they've the battle's done. The resurrection doesn't work. We know this now. They're cleaning up, getting things organized. At this point, Rand is able to kind of consolidate his power in Tyr to some extent, basically letting the High Lords know that no more nonsense. You answer to me
Yeah, I'm
now,
tired of your
or
shit.
right, we're changing the laws. You people are not better than anybody. Yada 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 yada. And he does everything he does simply by decree. So threat and decree. At this point, he's starting to a little bit. You could say he's coming into the idea that he's has this power, not necessarily that he's not a good leader, but he is a
Mm.
leader at this point. And people have acknowledged who he is begrudgingly. Part of
Yeah,
it's
for the most part, begrudgingly.
right, and part of it's because of the prophecies. I mean, the prophecy is that the Dragon Reborn would basically touch the sword that cannot be touched, and this Stone of Tyr would fall to the people of the dragon. Okay,
Yep.
so we've learned a couple of things. One, there's a head nod to the people of the dragon, so the ale, in which we'll get to that piece. Two is Rand Althor is indeed the dragon reborn, according to the first two pieces of the prophecy, because he has the herons on his palms now, and
Hmm.
he has the sword. Okay,
Yep. There are
but
more signs, and we'll see some of them later on. But yeah,
right,
there's more signs.
right. Well, he's acknowledged as the dragon reborn, which is the according to the Ale, the Wetlander prophecy.
Yeah, it's well added
But
props. Yep.
the Ale have a prophecy of their own, and the
Hmm.
dragon, that same person who's called the dragon reborn is called the Karakarn in their
Yep.
prophecy.
The chief of chiefs, I think it's kind of what it translates into.
Right. But now you have this thing where what to do now. They're
Hmm.
kind of lost at this point. Okay, I've got calendar. What do I do? Do I go chase down the Forsaken? Do I go challenge the Dark One? We know at this point that trying to challenge the Dark One head on is not a good idea.
Suicide.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna lose.
and and when you look at what the prophecies say, that that he will break all ties, and he will gather the people, and he will wear the crown of thorns.
Yep.
So he realizes at this point that he needs the people of the dragon, which have been acknowledged as the Ale, but he doesn't know what to do. So the Stone of Tyr is okay. The people of Tyr are very, very much against They, channeling has pretty much been outlawed all over. Although they will tolerate the Aes Sedai, um, they don't allow channeling. They have a huge hoard of these items, these Sayangreal, Terangreal, all these items that can be used with the one power, and they
Mhm.
they basically they collect these things so they can make sure that they're not used is the idea, and they're all in the Stone of Tyr.
Yeah,
And there's
and ironically enough, they're also collected to balance out uh Kalendor, because Kalendor is so powerful. They're like, let's like surround this thing with other things.
yeah.
It's like let's just house all the shit in here and keep it away from anybody else.
Well,
But
but
yeah, like
there's one item in particular that becomes important at this point in the story, and that is a twisted redstone doorframe mirror. Um,
uh, right.
Matt Cathan becomes aware of
Good
this
old
mirror.
Matthew.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, man.
I'm trying to remember that. I've read it. This is what happens when you read stuff
Well,
a couple days ago.
Matt goes through the mirror. Rand and Moiraine also go through this mirror. This is where Rand figures out that the next piece
That's
for
right.
him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Matt figures out the next piece for him as
Right.
well. Okay, yeah, yeah. Now I remember.
Well, and Matt, go ahead. You go ahead, man.
Well, Matt, yeah, so yeah, Matt, Rand, Moraine, they go through the mirror, and again, because I have a shitty memory, Matt basically is told, and Greg, feel free to fill in the finer details if I've missed this. Matt's basically given uh, kind of the future of his own prophecy, where he has to travel with the people of the dragon, Niall, to a sacred place, which we'll go into here shortly, or he'll die, like, or he's dead, like permanently dead. Um, Rand is given the next steps of his prophecy, where again he has to travel with Niall to the wastes, to this sacred place, to essentially prove that he is the Karn of Karns, and that's it. I don't know
Well,
if Moraine. I can't remember if Moraine's given anything.
Moiraine, yeah, she is. She's given some stuff too, but they don't tell you exactly what Moraine's given. It comes out later what she's told.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so there's a little mystery in there because you don't actually know. You know that Moiraine went in there and that they told
Mhm.
her something, but you don't know exactly what it is. Matt, though, at
But
this
yeah, no.
point,
One of the other key things from Matt is no. It's not. No, he doesn't. He doesn't find that piece out yet. He finds that out after he goes to the other city. So I was confusing the two. Yeah. Never mind. The
well,
other piece with the tree. He doesn't find that out yet. He finds that out later.
right? He does though because he goes in here and he asks his three questions. And because
Oh
that's what
yeah,
they
that's
allow
right.
you, they allow you three questions. He asks his three questions, and he's really not happy with the answers because he doesn't feel like they've told him any. The only thing they've told him is this riddle, basically, that he has to go to this place called Ryodan to survive
Mhm.
and to meet his fate. That's really it. And he's like, okay,
Yeah.
what is this? Is nonsense. What you
He got
cheated
a
me,
bad fortune cookie.
right? So as he starts arguing with these, or trying to argue with these guys, they tell him just a little bit more. Okay. Um, and that little bit more is two things. First, that he is fated to marry someone called the Daughter of the
Yeah, that's
Nine
right.
Moons.
Yep.
And the second is that he will die and live again, and that he will give up half the light of the world to save the world.
I completely forgot that he. I thought he learned that in the. No, no, he doesn't learn it there. That's okay. Now okay. Now I remember what happens.
Yep.
There's a lot of not necessarily repeats, but there's a lot of connecting points that are done very similarly
But I would
in this book.
I would remember those the three last things, the die and live again.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
important.
that one is really important. And you'll find
The
out why
marriage.
today. Um,
Yeah,
the marriage, very important, but
later.
the last one, which is give up half the light of the world, that one actually, I actually forgot about that. As I'm reading the series, I forgot about that at a point. So when I actually found out what it meant, it was like, oh, holy crap.
Yep.
That's what, I remember now
That,
that
that, that
this was part of the problem. This is part of the stuff they said to him. It didn't seem,
mhm.
what I mean? It's all significant at the time, but it didn't make any sense to me. But then when you
There was,
actually,
yeah.
yeah, when you actually find out what it means, you're like, oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Oh man. Good old Matt. And again, this is again this fourth book for me. It says a lot of things, both from a character perspective and actually, in my opinion, from a writer's perspective, from Jordan's perspective, because up until now, if you go back and you read the first three books,
Mhm.
he has touched on very many fantasy tropes. It's almost it's different, it's interesting, it's unique. Excuse me, but the 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 first three books, in my opinion, are I don't want to say cookie cutter fantasy because they're
Mhm.
not, but they check all the boxes for a lot of fantasy epics at the time. And I feel like that was because at the time, Robert Jordan was having trouble getting published. He was
Mhm.
struggling getting published. But I feel like the fourth book, he kind of said, you know what? I've proven I can sell. I, the books are good, and I think at this point he started to write the way he wanted to write. He kind of took the gloves off, so to speak, and you see that in the writing because again, a lot of the major players they do things differently. All three of the characters they have their coming of age moments or the beginnings of them, and they step outside of that norm of most fantasy epics at the time. Um, and I appreciate that. But yeah, like so yeah, they go through the twisted red mirror, and they get their prophecies. Rand, again, he's told that he would have to go to Ruiden as well to first of all, be marked as the the Karn of Karns, and he would also one key thing, I believe this is where he was told, he would learn the history of Dail and learn like who they really are. And again, it's really interesting when we reveal it and when you learn of it because it's like, wait a minute, what? It's definitely an eye-opening reveal to say the least.
Right.
And then when he gets to the Io Waste, he learns.
Hold on. Hold on.
Um,
Hold on. Hold on. Don't go there yet.
okay, yeah,
Um. So before that happens, he, they've been in this tearing reel. They got this information. Now this is the first spot. Okay, the group has been split up a couple of times. All right, like Egwene, and Egwene, Elaney, and Nynaeve got split off, went, sent to the tower type of thing. Min, you don't really know what's going on with Min right now. She has also been sent to the tower. But at this point, the group kind of gets split up. So you have Rand, who gets this information and declares that his intention is to follow the people of the dragons, so the Ale, into the Ale Waste. All right, to go to Ryodan basically, so that he can do what he has to do. And prove at this point the Ale don't know. You know what I mean? They've been searching for he who comes with the dawn, which is what they call him. Um, but they don't know that this guy is him because their prophecy doesn't say anything about Calendar. Their prophecy says that he will go into Ryodan and that he will return with the marks of the dragon.
Mhm.
Okay, so Rand decides, all right, I'm going to go into the Ale Waste and
I'm still here.
I'm going to prove to these people who I am. At this time, Moiraine and Egwene decide, they basically resolve themselves to go with him, to stick by his side and to make, help him. Moiraine obviously thinks that, she's trying to guide him, is what she's trying to do, trying to, make sure that he can survive at least long enough to do his part and save the world. Um, there we go. Okay, and then now the other characters in there. So we have Matt. We have now we know that Matt also has gone through the Tearing Grail at this point to visit the Eilfin. Pern now this book is actually the character that gets the most attention in this book is Pern, and that's because he goes back to the Two Rivers, and this is where his story really starts to reveal itself. Because up until now, he's been kind of more or less like the sidekick type character. You know what I mean? You don't really know what is going on with Pernabera. It's like, who is this guy? Um,
Mhm.
so he decides to go
I'm gonna
back.
let you tell this story, Greg.
He
Perrin was never really, well, I wouldn't say he wasn't. He's not a favorite. I just, how do I put it? He, for me, Perrin was a little too stuck in the past, aside from the other two. And what I mean by he was too much of a, I guess, like he was too much about the Two Rivers for me. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, someone had to be concerned about the Two Rivers, especially because, again, if you haven't figured out the Two Rivers and that mountain, what that significance is, like that's why Two Rivers people are built different, man. But again, you're gonna get to that in the story. But for me, he was too stuck on that little pocket of the world where there was much larger things going on that needed to be seen to. But again, as you read the story, you learn that the Two Rivers is also very critically important to everything else. So, again, but for me, again, reading this as a younger, a young, teenager, he was like, man, there's other shit going on. What are you doing to worry about them? Now reading it as an adult, I'm like, okay, I get why. But anyway, go ahead, Greg.
All right, yeah. So Pern, anyway, he goes back. He decides to go back to the Two Rivers, and at this point, he has met a hunter for the Horn that has kind of been tagging along with this group because she's decided that these people must be something. They're friends of the Dragon Reborn, and well, her name is Fail. Actually, she has a different name, but she goes by Fail. Fail Besher. And she decides to attach herself to Pern Abera and head with
Yeah,
Pern.
she was at the stone. I'm pretty
Yep,
sure.
yep. Um, so at this point, she attaches herself to Pern. We have Gaul, who is already an ale that Pern saved from the White Cloaks, and now we have two maidens, and these maidens of the spear are Bane and Chad, and they decide to follow Pern as well. Now, and there's a story behind this because they're not following Pern because of Pern. They're actually following Pern because of Gull. Um, so you got this little side romance thing. It's not really romance at this point. It's just you gotta as you begin to understand the culture of the ale, it becomes more clear what's happening here. And that story piece, there's way more to tell about that, but I'm gonna wait because it kind of plays out in the other books. And at the same time, it picks into Min, so you get a little bit of insight about what's going on with Min. because Min has now arrived in Tarvalon. Basically, she's a guest of the Amerlin seat, Swen Sensei. Um, and that's the four groups. That's they're all split up at this point. You have Rand, Matt, Moiraine, Egwene, which in Lan, then going into the Ale Waste with Rourke and several other Ale, the Tardad Ale. Um, and you have Pernabara, and you have that small group of Ale with Fail that are going back to the Two Rivers, and you got Mac Betram Cathan, who, due to what he was told by the Aelfin, decides, okay, I guess I gotta go with Rand because that's where he's going, and I'm supposed to go there too. So here I go. Um,
Hmm.
Matt is the character that always acts like he doesn't want to be part. He don't want to be a hero. He doesn't want to do anything. But it seems like he always ends up in that hero role.
He
Um,
does.
you
Like
know,
he's an willing participant.
right. He doesn't look for it. As a matter of fact, he tries to run from it most of the time. But it seems as though every time he tries to run, he ends up right in the middle of it. So
Hmm.
there you have it. One more character really comes into to play here, which we met in the last book because Avinda was introduced in the last book, The Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, she
And
came in with the initial ale that helped take the tier.
right, and she forms a friendship with Egwene, and begins to form this friendship with Egwene.
Hmm.
Um, little difficult to understand exactly why this is. But they it starts to play out. So we'll get that as we go here. Back to you, man. We're headed into the Ale Waste, or we're headed to Two Rivers, or we have a third. We have a third group here. I forgot. Sorry. We have a third group here, um, which is Nanave, Elaney, Tom Maryland, and
Yep.
a thief catcher by the name of Julian Sander. And this group is continues on with that mission that they were given to hunt the Black Jaw. They've been
Yeah, by the
told,
Armlets. Yeah.
right. They figured out now that they believe that the Black Jaw. So they, through, I think it was the dream walking that Egwene did.
I think so. Yeah.
They got this picture of this place, that they needed to go to, and they figured that, or they figured out that, the Blackjaw were probably in Tenchico.
Hmm.
So that's where this group of four takes off on a ship for Tenchico. Okay, and lo and behold, they are on a sea folk ship. So this is where you start to learn a little bit about the sea folk piece. So those are our three options. You pick where you want to go.
Hmm. Let's go. I mean, the easiest one is to go to the ale waste, but
Hey, that's perfect spot to go.
let
That's
yeah, let's go to the ale wastes
okay.
because that's a pretty big piece there.
All
All
right.
right, so yeah, so they again, everyone starts making their way to the ale waste, and at this point, I think we as the readers, we've learned the history of Rand's family, right? Of his dad and his mom.
Um.
I think at this point, or is it this,
mm,
or is when he gets to sit down with the wise ones.
right.
Yeah,
After he goes into Ryodan,
yeah,
and that's when you start to learn the actual story behind Rand Althor.
yeah,
So at this point, he has no idea. He,
yeah.
he knows that his father, Tam, might not actually be his
Be
father.
his dad. Yeah,
Right.
he suspects that maybe they're not as related as he thought they were. But yeah, they start making their way into the ale, and as they do, and as they come up, because again, the ale clans, they're not all one large clan. There's groups of them, and each hold their allegiance to a particular chief, or it's not it ain't hunky dory in the ale wastes. Okay, there's some shitty people there too. Um, and as they're making their way through, this is kind of where they meet up with um I want to say his name is Rurik.
Right. Rorik is the clan chief that led the Tardad Ale to take
Yeah.
the Stone of Tyr.
So they all head back, and again, Rorik he's he's one of my favorite Ale characters because he is on Rand's side, but not stupidly so. He's almost, I feel like, at least the interactions that are described with him and Rand, and kind of how he treats him, it's almost like a mentor or mentee kind of relationship. Because
Right.
Rorik, he's an older guy. He's not a youngin. He's an older ale chief. He knows what's what. Um, but they start making their way into the ale waste, and they meet up. I think this is when they meet up with the Shido, if I'm pronouncing it properly.
The
Shido
Shadu.
clans.
Yeah.
The Shadu,
Shadu.
yeah, they're the Shadu clans, and the Shadu are. If I had to describe them, they're the traditionalists. They anybody who's not ale can go jump off a bridge. They're not, not really nice. Especially, I want to say he's their chief.
Yep.
Collagen,
Yep. Culloden. Yep.
Collagen. Yeah,
Well,
he
he's
is.
not actually their clan chief.
He's not their clan
Um,
chief yet.
yeah, their former clan chief actually passed away. And he is his brother, his older brother, is actually in. So when our group arrives at Ryodan, Culloden's older brother is actually in Ryodan,
That's right. Yeah, he
trying
is.
to be trying to become the clan chief.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there are, yeah, that's right. So you, as they come in to
Hey, buddy.
the ale waste. Hey, what's up, Infinity? Welcome, everybody. But
Shit
yeah,
beat clan.
they start to learn more about the process of going into Raiden, and how only ale chiefs and those who want to become ale chiefs are allowed in. And obviously, to become an ale chief, you have to be Aiel first. You can't, it ain't gonna let anybody in there. Um, it's a holy place for them. It's basically, they consider it a proving ground for their chiefs. Either you go there and you survive and become a chief, or you die. That's kind of it. Um, and so Matt and and Rand Rand specifically has to go in there, obviously, but Matt also has to go in there. But
There's four people that go in.
yeah, it's Rand, Matt. I think Moraine goes in with them.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the fourth one?
Avinda.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. She does, because so Avenda, she's an interesting character because she's about as tomboyish as you can fucking get. She's a stereotypical tomboy, no makeup, no dresses, none of that shit. But basically what happens to her is they find out that she's able to wield the one power. And in case you haven't realized, anyone who has to wield the one power typically ends up, going into one of these circles. And for the Aiel, the folks that wield the one power typically considered wise ones. So once that's figured out, she's bundled off. And I was like, okay, well, you're no longer a shield, a spear maiden. You got to put that shit down. You're gonna go be a wise one, a wise woman.
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, she's not happy about that shit. She's not. She is not happy about that. So she's kind of throwing a tantrum the whole way through. Is this also where she figures out kind of her destiny with regards to everything else?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She also realizes Remind me or explain how that happens, 'cause I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how that happens.
Okay. So, okay, so they arrive, and when they get there, the Tardad Ale are there, basically on the cliffs above Ryodan. And Ryodan is, at this point, from the outside looking in, it's basically this huge fog bank. You can see like some broken spires of what might be buildings raising up out of the fog. But it's this huge fog bank in the middle of this blasted land, this desert. Okay. On
Which is
one
ironic to have fog in a desert.
on one well, and on one cliff side you have this huge Shadu camp.
Yeah.
On the other cliff side, you have a Wise One camp and small contingent of the Tardad Ale, and then the group that came out of tier with Rand, and they meet with the Wise Ones and introduce themselves, talk it out. The Moraine gets to talk with the Wise Ones. Um, yeah, the Shadow. um, Egwene at this point gets to talk with the Wise Ones, and there's a deal made. Okay, so Moraine was told in the the mirror that she had to go to Ryodan as well, and that she had to go in to Ryodan. Okay, because there's something that she needs to learn there as well.
Yeah.
Um, so part of the deal for her going in is, Egwene's there. Egwene, the wise ones don't like this idea of the Aes Sedai thing.
No.
It's there's a little bit of fear there, but they haven't had to deal with the Aes Sedai. They don't trust the Aes Sedai, so they decide that Egwene needs to go into training because she's not truly an Aes Sedai at this point. So she needs to go into training. So they make her an apprentice. They also find out that she's a dreamer. And part of how they find out she's a
Yeah, that's
dreamer,
right.
right, is because one of the Aes Sedai, I think it's Melanie, actually
I think so,
encounters
yeah.
Egwene in the dream world in Tel'aran'rhiod. Um,
Mhm.
so that's so they decide, okay, we're going to teach you because Tel'aran'rhiod's really dangerous.
Dangerous.
So we're
'Cause
going
you
to
can die
teach
in there.
you, right, at least enough that you're not going to, do something stupid and get yourself killed in there. So that now Egwene is essentially a student of the wise ones. Okay, her goal is still to become Aes Sedai, but while they're traveling with the Ale, she puts herself in this position where she is becomes a student to the wise ones so that she can learn about this power, this ability that she has, which is a unique ability. Not everybody can do this. And she has the
Mhm.
ability to actually cross the in our terms it would be like crossing a dimensional plane into a different dimension. Kind of at will. Um so you got that piece going on. So these guys go into Ryodan. You have Rand goes into Ryodan, Moraine goes into Ryodan, and Avenda. You got it?
Yep.
Go ahead.
So the two that are really significant for me are Matt and Rand,
Yeah, Matt.
obviously.
I'm sorry, Matt goes with them. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. And we're gonna start there because, well, they all kind of go to, they enter the city, and again, it's as they move into the city, what wasn't shown because due to the fog is that this is a blasted city. It's a shattered place. And one significant thing though is as they're walking in, they see those twisted kind of gates again, and they have. But the other thing is there's this huge ass tree sitting kind of like in the middle of this city, like in a square. And I can't remember if the tree is dead or if it's alive.
It's alive. It's
Okay,
alive.
and that again, a huge ass tree living in the desert. And about like nothing about this city makes sense. It's odd to say the least. But they noticed that those kind of again similar to the twisted red mirror, these kind of twisted gate looking gates, and each of them they walk through. And Matt, um, I can't remember exactly everything from his scene with them, but he walks through his gate and he meets this. Uh, is it three entities or is it just one entity? Because I can't remember exactly what it is. Because for some reason I'm thinking of like a sphinx. But anyway, he
Well,
meets this. God,
it's the Eelfin is who he meets in
yeah,
there. But Matt actually
and he get
sneaks in on his own. He doesn't like go
does it?
in with. Yeah, he sneaks
Okay.
on his own.
Because I remember reading. I remember a scene where he's talking to Rand while
Yep,
they're in this city.
yep.
Okay. Well, yeah. I guess he just
Rand,
sneaks in, and Rand
Rand,
is like, all right, whatever. I don't
right?
care.
Rand, Avenda, and Moiraine get permission, but
Yeah.
Matt's
Okay.
never actually given permission, so he just decides he's
That's
gonna go.
right because he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't jive with the wise ones either. So he's like, I'm not even gonna ask. I'm just gonna go.
Hmm.
Okay. Can I understand my dreams perfectly fine? No, not at all. When I dream, nah, definitely not.
Egwene can though.
Yeah, Gwen can. I don't know if I see her in my dreams, I'll ask her. I don't know if I would like to see her in my dreams though. She's a pain in the ass. Not a fan of her either.
Come on now, come on now.
I don't know.
I guarantee you by the end of these books, I'm not going to say that you're going to love Egwene or anything like that, but your perception of her will change. I guarantee you it will.
I'm sure it will. The one person though I can't I don't necessarily am fond of is Elaine.
Lady?
And it's not
Mhm.
it's not necessarily her fault either. It's how she was brought up, but you see it in the way she interacts with Rand. Like she talks down to him, and it's like, lady, he could smoke you right here. What are you doing? Like you stupid. He could turn you into a pile of ash without even thinking about it.
Yeah, but I mean, she's been raised her whole life to be a
Yeah,
queen. You
and
know,
then
and
again,
that's
that's why I say it's not necessarily her fault. Like it's you know it, it's it's kind of how she was again she was how she was raised, how she was taught to look at the world. She is going assuming she survives, she's going to be queen. There's no two ways around it.
right.
She's going to be the head of a nation. So there's a certain way that you act around people. But you would think becoming a novice in the tower would have humbled her a little bit, but not really. um So yeah, Anyway, so yeah, sorry, not Rand. Matt sneaks in, um, and he goes through his gate. Does his thing, and he meets with them, and he gets another three questions, I believe, and I can't remember exactly what those questions are, but from what I remember, he doesn't like the answers again. Like
Right.
they again, they're not giving him straight answers, but a couple of things do happen to him. Um, After he's finished with that interaction. Number one,
One of the things happens to
no, well, I think two of them.
no, just one.
Is just one? Is it? Oh, I'm not gonna keep you guys in suspense. He ends up getting hanged on that tree and assumably dying. Um, Now we're not given any time frame of how long he was swinging there, but it's shortly after, or it's assumably sometime after that, where Rand walks out of his little memory walk. And switching gears to him, that's where he learns not only who he is, or who his family was, but the history of the Aiel and where they came from. Um, Now again, Greg, fill in the blanks if I leave too any important details out. But the long and short of it is, Rand has shown the history of the Aiel, and they didn't start out as what they are known as now, and what they are now actually came about because of an oath that they broke. So they started out as, I believe they were called the people of like the leaf or something like that, or the tribe of the
Well,
leaf.
they followed the way of the leaf.
There we go, the way of the leaf. And what essentially that boils down to is they were pacifists. They were a group of individuals who, I believe, they even traced their like they even kind of either are similar to or an offshoot of like the Tinkers, right?
Well, not exactly. They okay. So
So I know there's some there like that's another thing that we didn't mention. The IO are very, very xenophobic and very kind of like, if you're not an IO, get the fuck out. You're not welcome here. The only people that they ever allow through are tinkers and merchants. Those are the only individuals that they will allow through the ale waste without like messing with them.
right, killing them.
And I think that's why, I think that's because the people of the leaf, they weren't offshoots. I think they had a relationship with the tinkers way way back when.
Well,
I think that's what that is.
at this point they okay. At this point in the the lore arc to this,
Mhm.
they basically are so distasteful of the Tinkers that it's almost like they treat them like they're lepers. They're diseased.
Okay, yeah, that
So
is
that's
right. Yeah, yeah,
they don't go anywhere near the Tinkers. So the Tinkers
yeah,
pass through the waste, and the Ale just avoid them.
yeah.
Because
And I think,
they go ahead.
go ahead. No, no, go ahead, go ahead. I think
Well,
you were gonna.
they base in a weird way. They kind of fear them, not because they're dangerous or anything like that, but their fear is that whatever whatever they have is infectious, and we're going to catch it too. So they avoid that like the plague. Um,
I never really explained that in this one. I mean, for obvious reasons,
well,
because I'm pretty sure we
no,
explain it later.
right. And here's the it's kind of like muscle memory, I think, in a way. Now, here's
Mhm.
the thing with this. What you're finding out in this one is that in order to be okay, so when Rand goes into Ryodan, he sees someone else in there.
That's right. He does run into Hollidan's brother
Right.
before he goes into the thing. I'm trying to remember what happens to him.
The rite of passage to become a chief for the Ale is to be able to go into Ryodan, pass through this Tirangriel, learn these things,
And come
and
back out.
then return. Right, and that's the
And I
rite of
think, yeah, and
passage.
then Hollidan's brother went in, came out, but something like he
He
doesn't
never
come out,
came
right?
out. Never came out.
Okay. No, no, that's right. That's right. Rand, Rand and company, but mostly Rand sees him enter, but he never leaves. Because Rand actually, I think he even comments that he realized that he went in after him, but he leaves before him.
That's because what this
So
guy learns in there is too much.
breaks his mind.
Right. It's
Yeah.
too
So
much for
again,
him.
yeah. So going back to Rand and what he learns that the Aiel aren't what they are now. That they weren't these you know, they weren't all this warlike, strength is everything individuals. They were pacifists, which is completely 180 degrees counter to what they believe and what they are now. Um, but going back to the reason um, why they broke their oath. They broke the oath to the way of the leaf, and they picked up weapons to defend themselves. Um, or some of them did. I don't think all of them did. I know some of them did, and picked up weapons in defense of their lives, essentially. And I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but I know it wasn't all of them. And basically, the ones that did pick up weapons were banished from, by the people of the Leaf. They were essentially outcasts. They broke their oath, and they went into the Ale Wastes in shame. And from that point, Aiel, as the world has come to know them, were born. Um, Now, how that connects to Rand, um, well, to put half of the equation together, his and why he looks like an ailment is because his dad was an ale chief of one of the clans. I want to say it was the Tardad, but I can't remember if they actually say what clan his dad was from.
I think they do. I'm not
Can't
sure if it
remember.
was the Tardad though.
Yeah, I can't remember. But his dad was an ale chief. His mother, on the other hand, I can't remember what country she comes from, but I do remember she's nobility. She was like a daughter of a noble family, I believe.
Okay, so his mother, okay, so there's a story behind this because his
Yeah.
mother was actually the first wife of the king of
So
Kerheen.
Prince. Oh. So he's
Okay,
he's of a royal blood. That's right. It's like I was trying to remember if she was a princess or if she was a noble.
well,
I want to say she was a noble, but
right, in the king of Kerheen and her had a child. Yeah, had a child, and that child went with the king of Kerheen. So when the wife, so it's Rand's mother, when she or not, yeah, when Rand's mother disappeared, okay, the 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 husband, which was a prince at the time, went
became king.
to no, no,
Oh no, go ahead.
went to Andor. Okay,
Oh yeah,
him and his son went to Andor, and he married the queen of Andor. Okay, so and his son's name was Galad.
I was. Yep, that's right. He who, if you guys, I don't know if they've
Right,
mentioned that yet,
right.
but he is someone of
Well,
significance.
right. You meet Gowan and Galad, which are Eleni
That's
Tracken's brothers. One's their actual brother,
yep.
and the other one's their half brother. You
What's
meet
the
them
half?
in
That's yeah.
the last book, Dragon Reborn. Okay. So Rand's mother disappears into the Ale Waste,
I can't remember
leaving.
why. What was the reason? Why'd she leave?
I don't think that's super
I don't think
clear.
they.
I think
Yeah,
I think it
because
had
I.
a lot to do with the game of houses and whatnot because
Yeah.
she. Okay, so here's the thing with this. Rand's mother is actually okay. The reason why the prince married Morgus is because Rand's mother was, I believe, Morgus's sister. So the idea was to put this prince on the throne of Andor as the king. That's coming.
Uh,
That's coming.
yep.
That hasn't happened yet. That is coming though.
Oh
Um,
yes, no, that comes, and that's again, that's the reason why the Aiel are so feared. That's one of the reasons why, anyway, because of that incident right there.
right, right. So this happens. The mother walks into the ale waste. She wanders through the ale waste. The ale find her, and she insists that she be allowed to become a maiden. Because of her courage and bravery, they allow her to become a maiden. They teach her, and she ends up marrying a clan chief, and she gets pregnant. Now, at the same time that this is happening, the king of Kerheen. Okay, now the Kerheenian were actually they had a deal where they were allowed to travel. They were the only people outside of the Tinkers and traders that were allowed to travel through the Ale Waste. And they had such a strong bond with the ale that the ale actually gave them a piece of a Vendisur, the tree of life, and that was taken back to Kerheen and planted in Kerheen. So Kerheen had this tree, which was a sapling off of the tree of life, growing in Kerheen. Um, for whatever reason, the king of Kerheen decided that he needed a new throne, and he cut it down and turned
Dumb
that
move.
sapling into his new throne.
Throne.
Right. And that's what that's so he was the tree killer, the oath breaker, is what the ale referred to him as, and that was the whole purpose they crossed the dragon wall, was to kill this guy. They didn't want to conquer. They didn't really want to fight anybody, but they would. But that
Yep.
was their whole purpose, was to kill this guy because he
And they
broke
did.
his oath. Yeah,
Yep. They did. And which is ironic because remember, what did the ale do? They broke their oath.
right. Well,
So
and
it, and
according
which is
according and
uh,
as you learn about the ale, I mean they follow a philosophy called Jeto. Okay, Jeto. Um, and that's a big deal. I mean, you don't
yep,
lie, you don't break oaths, you don't cheat, you don't steal. Those are bad things, and literally, I mean, they're like death sentence style bad things. You just don't
yep.
do that.
And which again, which is ironic because like that's part of the reason why it's a test of strength and fortitude for an ale chief or prospective ale chief to learn these things because it literally flies in the face of everything that they are, all the philosophies, all the rules and like they are literally, their ancestors did exactly what what's important to them. They broke
Mhm.
their oath. They I'm not gonna say they lied, but I mean you can kind of say, well, you broke your oath, you lied. Yeah. They runs counter to everything that they are. So I mean, in essence, the ale and everything they are now is built on a lie.
Well, okay, so let's just roll back to that for just a moment and talk about what they find out in Ryodan. So what they find out is so Rand finds this out, Avenda finds this out. All the other wise ones and the clan chiefs are the only ones that know this. So
And
the
yeah, that's right.
all the
That's
rest
right.
of the people in the world, nobody knows this. Okay,
It's only the clan chiefs and the wise ones who, because again,
right.
they've had to go there and go through that and learn that truth. And I mean, long story short, survive it. Um, so again, he finds that out. He finds out, who his mom was, who his dad was, and in so doing, learns that he is in fact an Aiel and can become an Ale chief, which then leads to him being marked, which fulfills the Aiel prophecy. So after he finds all that out, he leaves, but he leaves with a mark, two marks, as a matter of fact. He leaves with two identical dragon tattoos on his forearms, and they're not normal tattoos either. They look almost metallic, and they look almost alive. But again, that is part of the AO prophecy that he's fulfilled. He is now officially the Karn of Karns. Well,
Well, no, he's not. No, he's not.
not yet. He has to be recognized, but he's fulfilled the prophecy in, rules as written. He's fulfilled the
Well,
prophecy.
when he comes back out, okay, so they come back out of Ryodan. At this point, Ryodan, the fog is starting to dissipate, yada yada yada, around Ryodan. Okay, so he comes back out of Ryodan, and at this point, the Shadu have packed up and left. Nobody really knows why.
Yeah, that's right. They did. Yeah, they
Well,
dipped.
here's the thing. He comes back out. The wise ones that are there recognize, okay, he bears the marks. He must be the Karakarn. But
Mm.
now
Oh, let's
he
actually we missed somebody. We missed two people actually. We missed Avenda and we missed Moray. You want to talk about those two and
yeah,
what they learned?
we'll get, yeah, we'll
We'll
roll
get there.
back to that. Since
Okay.
we're here, let's just get this piece rolling.
Yeah.
So he at this point he finds out that he has to go from here. He has to travel because he's got to get the ale behind him. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's not like I can just I go in here and get these tattoos and I walk out, ta-da, everybody's gonna
And
follow
that's
me
it.
now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not
He still has to convince everybody.
right. Right. So now he has to travel to another place. Okay, now I'm going to stop there so we can bring the other two up to where we're at.
And we
Um,
need to circle back with Matt too, because homeboy's hanging.
right, right. So go ahead, man. Roll with it.
So I'm gonna move to Matt. You can kind of talk about Venda and Moraine because Venda's story is really interesting, and what Moraine learns is also quite interesting. And I don't want to screw those up. But Matt's story I know pretty well because he's beside behind Rand, he's my second favorite character. Um, and the reason why he is because he finally grows up. He finally stops being the knucklehead and he finally like, all right, fine. And I think this right here, this part is where he does. So um so Matt, again, he finds all that out. He gets marked. He leaves, and he comes out to seeing Matt swinging from a tree. And he freaks out, cuts him down, and starts giving him CPR. Eventually, brings him back. But what also happens is two things that happen. Is one, again, obviously, Matt fulfills part of the prophecy that he was told the first time he went into the to that world where he asked the first three questions. Um, he dies and comes back. But also in the tree is found a black spear with raven etchings on it. I'm pretty sure that's where they find the spear in this one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they find it in the tree, and for some reason, at least from again, I'm trying to remember all the details here. Matt Matt takes the spear. Takes the spear for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you go back all the way, back to the first book, Matt is a very well versed quarterstaff user. And the spear, is quarterstaff with a blade on it, so perfect weapon for him. But there's another reason why he takes it, and he feels a familiarity with the spear. And half of the reason why he can't explain, but the other half of the reason why is because the script that's written on the haft, the shaft of the spear, he can read, but it's not written in any language that he should know. He doesn't know why
It's
he can
it's
read it.
it's written in the old tongue.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how. Like he before now, he didn't know shit about the old tongue, but now he can read it fluently. And I can't remember exactly what it says on the thing, but he reads it and he understands it. And that's
This
going to be important later, and as the story continues, because Matt's changed now in a very very significant way. But I don't think this part in the story they actively go into that.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Because okay, when he goes in there, he asks for three things, and he
Yeah, that's right. He
gets
asks.
three
Let me
things.
let me let me let me see. He asks to be rid of the Aes Sedai. I think he asks like not to die or something like that.
Um,
No, he asked to be rid of the Aes Sedai. What's the other two? I can't remember exactly what they are.
I think you're right with the not to die, maybe just not
He doesn't.
quite
Yeah, he
that
doesn't
way.
want to die.
And then the third, okay, so all right, so Shader Logoth, the
Hmm.
the the dagger that he had,
That's right. Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it dug holes in his memory, so he couldn't
That's
remember
right. He wants his
things.
mind back. He wants his mind to be whole again, or
Right,
his memories to be whole again.
right,
One of
right.
the two.
The way he
Yeah,
words it is
specific.
basically, "I
Yeah.
want my memories to be whole again." Yes,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, and he wants his mind. Yeah, he wants his memories to be whole, which is significant because of something else that he did. Go back to book two. Am I jumping too far ahead? Do they talk about this part in here?
what?
Because remember he blew the horn.
Well, no, actually, it doesn't. It doesn't. Those two elements. I guess you could do a loose tie to that, but they don't actually tie together.
Okay, because I've
But yeah,
because
he did blow the horn.
as I was rereading through it, I figured the reason why, again, the memories that he gets, and obviously you know why, are because of him blowing the horn.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
then I'm
That's
I'm and not remembering something.
It's just that's the he is allowed to ask for three things, and he does. And but the problem is that you unless you're really specific with the question, it's kind of like
Yeah,
they're kind of like
yeah,
genie, the djinn basically, because
yeah.
they
You got to be very
right
specific with what you're asking for, or they're just gonna kind of. Oh yeah, that's another thing. He doesn't. So he asks for those three things, and they give it to him, but he doesn't name a price.
right
So they're like, well, okay, here you go, and they take the price that they want, and their price is
to kill him.
they hang him. Yeah,
Yes,
they kill him, fulfilling again the other part of the prophecy that the other guys told them was he gonna die. So
but they hang him
there
from
you go.
what? What do they hang him from?
Ah, that's right. I can't remember the tree's name, but basically it's the tree of like
The tree
it's
of
kind of like
life.
yeah, Yggdrasil. In Norse
Yep.
mythology, it's tree of life. So he's swinging from the tree of life, baby. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Robert Jordan introduced a lot of elements from a lot of folklores similar to Tolkien
Right.
uh, in the Wheel of Time. So yeah, so he gets again his memories are made whole, um, kind of. Uh, he definitely has a lot of memories now, and he gets this spear, and the spear is significant, but I believe its significance doesn't come until later on.
Right. The sphere is
I
important
think I
to.
think it's tied to
Well, it's part of a.
to
It's part of a prophecy.
yes,
It's just a kind of like the Kara Karn thing. Everybody has their own prophecies. That spear is part of a prophecy as well.
yeah, yep. And it ties Matt. I believe it ties Matt to the one of the other earlier prophecies was the woman of the nine moons. I think it ties into her. I
Yes.
think that's part of it.
Yeah, the daughter of the nine
Um,
moons.
mhm. So that's that, and he finds Matt, brings him back, and there, you know, that happens. Now, if you want to go into, take it away and go into Moraine and Avenda. I always called her
Well,
Avenda.
this is where so Moiraine at this point. This is where Moiraine learns. Basically, she gets some foresight into the future at this point. Um, and she learns what a potential future for her is. Okay. However, she also learns that she can't really share that. So again, you don't get a clear picture because they don't play through that piece. You really only get Rand's version of what's happening there. You know that Avenda, because you figure it out that what Avenda is seeing is something very similar to what Rand is seeing. So you know the history of the Ale piece to it.
Hmm.
Matt's experience is completely different, and Moiraine's experience is completely different. But Moiraine walks away from here with an idea of what the future holds, and she knows that she has to help Rand, or he will not succeed. This is what she
Yeah,
knows. She knows because they tell her that she has to absolutely whatever she has to do it to help him, and everything up to and including swallow your damn pride and get over yourself as an Aes Sedai, because without you he will not succeed. So she knows this now, and that's an important piece to remember because there's things coming up that you're going to be like, well, what, how does that work? That's fine. um so that's those two. And Avenda's piece, she also learns that she will fall in love with, marry Rand al'Thor,
hmm
and that she's going to have to share him, which is
with
right. That's the hard no. She doesn't know
with two.
who. Right, she doesn't know who exactly.
Well, no, is it
Two
two or
other
three other
Nope, two other
two?
women. Two other women. That's all she knows is two other women. And that this is the tough part for her. Min also later on kind of prophesizes about this with her ability, because she knows it too. She knows that she's going to
Mhm.
have to share him. The only one out of
But
the
she accepts
three,
it.
right? The only one out of the three that doesn't that's innocent and doesn't know anything at this point is Eleni.
Mhm.
But she doesn't know. She has no idea that she's gonna, she's in love and thinking, Rand's gonna be all
Man's
mine.
mine. Yep.
Right, right. Yeah, she's got a big awakening coming. Um, so yeah, this is okay. So we're done with Riotin now. Everybody has their little pieces of the story. Maureen has some really interesting information because she knows now that she basically not like servitude, but she has to serve the dragon. She knows
Yep.
this now. You know what I mean? There's no question to it. If she's not there and supporting him, and this
He
is what she's been
dies.
told, he dies. It all fails. The world's done. So, that she's got to figure out what that means. So her behaviors begin to change. Because she's trying to keep herself embedded with Rand. She's trying to keep herself close to him so that she can help him. Um, and he's getting more and more, not wanting to anything to do with the Aes Sedai. Not really trusting. Mollrain's about the only one he's really starting to trust, but he's still leery of her.
Mhm.
Because he doesn't, he's afraid they're going to try and control him and things like that.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
he's right to be. He's right to be kind of side eyeing them because they are Aes Sedai, man. That's their stock and trade is controlling.
right, right. So now they come out of Riotin, and Shadu are gone. The wise ones inform him that, hey, Kaladin and the Shadu and Kaladin's wife. I'm going to just cover this really quick. Savannah. And actually, she's not his wife at this point. She was actually the wife of Kaladin's brother. But they had decided that Rand al'Thor killed his brother. This is what they told the Shadu, that Rand al'Thor killed his brother, and that's why his brother never came out of Riotin.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
so they took off. Um, Rand comes out with the dragons on his arms, so now he's recognized by this group. And the wise ones, notify him that they have to go to this place called Cold Rock's Hold. I think it's Cold Rock's Hold. And
Believe so. Yeah.
right, and there'll be a meeting there of all the clans. There'll be a meeting there, and they'll be able to proclaim him as the Dragon Reborn, and
Hmm.
and see what the reaction is, and gather all the people of the dragon. So now they take off, crossing the waste to go to this place. All right. Um, you remember what happens next?
Aren't they attacked? I want to say they're attacked.
Well, before they're attacked, they meet. They stumble across something, some group, the traders.
I wanted to say the Tinkers. It was the Tinkers, weren't
No,
they?
no, not tankers,
No, not
traders,
Tinkers, but it was
traders.
traders. Okay.
Yep. So they meet these traders, that are trying to cross the waste. Okay,
Yeah.
on their way to Cold Rock's Hold. Among these traders, um, there's a minstrel, a bard, basically, who's traveling with them, a gleeman. Um, Jason Natel is his name. Um, Jason is actually the Forsaken Asmodean.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, now I
Right.
remember. Yep. 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 Yeah. He's disguised as one of the traitors, which is ironic because he becomes significant later on.
Two of them.
Very significant.
There's actually two.
says Modius and is it Lanfear
Yes. Asmodean and
and
Lanfear
Lanfear?
are
That's
both
right.
in this caravan. Right.
That's right.
Lanfear has taken the guise of this really short, plump merchant female. Um, and of course, Asmodean is her, you know, kind of partner boyfriend thing. You know, the gleeman traveling with her. Um,
Hmm.
and then there's another partner, insignificant dark friend, basically. But
Yeah.
they
Pretty
take these
much.
they take these guys in to travel with them. Of course, then because the Ale, there's basically two armies crossing the waste. You have the Shadu, who are like 100 yards away from the Tardad. They cross separately. The wise ones kind of stay in between them because no one would attack a wise one. So they stay in between them to keep the two clans from attacking each other. And one more significant thing, as they set out on this journey, the wise ones assign Avenda the task of teaching Rand the ale customs.
Hmm. Which she's not happy about that.
No, no.
She fucking hates that shit because she doesn't want anything to do with him at this point.
Yep. She's still unhappy that she was made to put her spears away,
Hmm.
and forced on this path of becoming a wise one. And now she's stuck with this man that she's doing her damnedest to, convince
To
herself that
hate.
she hates him. Right.
Yeah. And all she does is fall in love with him.
Eventually, yeah. Along the way, that's what happens.
Huh?
She
She
okay,
hates him so much she goes the other direction.
so they're crossing the Ale Waste. They get to Cold Rock Springs. Do you remember what happens?
Well, I remember what the significant piece where Kaladin, I mean, and the Shido kind of roll up, and he seems a little too smug, and then you figure out that he has a pair of dragon tattoos on his arms.
Bingo.
Yeah, that look identical to Rand's in every way, except we as a reader know that he never walked through the into the dream world. He never went to ride, and so
Right.
they're
So
obviously fake. But the question is,
how do you get
how?
them? Yep.
Yeah.
So Rand goes up on the stone platform and begins to. Well, okay. Actually, no. Culloden and the Shadu arrive first.
Yeah, they're already there. They're already at Cold
Mm-hmm.
Rock.
And at this at
That
this
I think actually it comes out that's why they like obviously you can infer that's why they left first
Yep.
was to kind of get ahead of him and set Kaladin up.
Right. And
I'm still listening.
so when Rand and the Tardad Ale arrive, Culloden has already announced himself as the Dragon Reborn. Um, him and his wife, which is actually his brother's wife, which he has now taken as his own wife. Um, and he's announced himself as the Dragon Reborn. Showing them he's got the marks. He's the
Hmm.
whole deal.
Yep, and he's a full-blooded ale, the
He
whole nine
right.
yards. And
He
what
who
wasn't
comes with
his
the
wasn't the brother's wife a wise one as well?
At this point,
Pretty sure she was.
she I don't think she was at this point. Um,
Oh,
she I don't think she was at this point. That
oh, okay.
I'm a little fuzzy on when she actually becomes a wise one. She is a like your traditional gold digger. I mean, she basically you well
She jumped from brother to brother. Yeah, she's
she's a very physically attractive woman, and she has a cunning mind. She's, very intelligent, has a cunning mind, and her intention, she's doing everything she can to leverage herself into these positions of power. Um, so that's why she married Culloden's brothers, because Culloden's brother was going to be the clan chief, and then she becomes the clan chief's wife, and yada yada yada. So now that didn't happen. So now the idea is, okay, now I'm gonna attach myself to Culloden because Culloden is gonna be the dragon reborn, and that's
Or he who
even
comes from
bigger. That's
dawn, in the
even
case of
better
Hale.
than the
Yeah,
clan chief, because now I'm the wife of the chief of chiefs.
yeah,
Um, so okay, this happens. Culloden's doing his thing. Rand comes up to essentially announce himself.
yeah. And I think
Um,
at this point, this is when Rand was like, "Okay, I'm tired of the bullshit." So he comes up and basically, and here's the thing, like to set the stage. Again, Cold Rock is a meeting of all the clans, specifically the clan chiefs and the wise ones. And remember, all the clan chiefs and all of the wise ones know the true history because they all have to walk through. They all have to go to Riot, and they all have to walk, into the dream world, um, and have that revelation. So they all know the truth. And as Khalid is yapping off at the gums about he's the true Karn of Karns. Rand reveals that his tattoos and says, "Nah, homie, it's me." And I can't. Basically, they ask I think the assembled clan chiefs and wise ones ask, okay, they look to Colin and ask him like, all right, so what was revealed to you? And
no,
obviously,
no,
no, that wasn't okay.
no.
I can't remember exactly how that happens.
Um, so the argument which is put up by Culloden and his wife Savannah is that there's no way that this wetlander could be the chief of
That's what
chiefs.
happened. Yeah, yeah. They
Um,
start talking shit.
right. So Rand, in his infinite wisdom, decides to reveal what he learned.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Collins talking about how great the clans were.
No,
Then Rand reveals it. Okay,
no.
so
Well,
it's the other way
Culloden
around.
never went to Ryan. Neither had Savannah, so they didn't know.
Yeah,
They had no idea what the
exactly.
true history
Well,
was.
that's why they get it wrong. That's why they get it wrong
Oh,
because
okay. Talking about the greatness and all that stuff.
yeah,
That
basically
might
they
have
were
happened.
talking
Yeah.
about how great the clans were and how Colin was gonna return the clans to
Right.
their greatness and take over the world, yada yada. And then again, Rand was like, actually, this is what really happened. Y'all a bunch of liars.
Yeah.
You were
Well.
actually a bunch of pacifists,
Yeah.
and you broke your oath.
The clan that, but they didn't ask that, and they wouldn't ask that because
No, no,
they
no.
know, you know what I mean. That's a
What it
secret
would
that's
do to
supposed to
people?
be
Yeah,
kept, kind of thing.
that's right. Yeah. So, but yeah, Rand kind of lets the cat out of the bag to kind of put Cullen in his place, and to show to the people that matter that he did in fact go to Riot and did learn the truth. So he does spill the beans, and actually, no, actually, I think you are right. Rand does spill the beans first, and then Colin kind of replies with, how dare you? There's no way that you went through to Raiden because obviously that's not the true history. And then that's when the wise ones, the clan chiefs, actually speak up and are like, actually, nah, he right, he right. We
Yeah.
we fucked up, and that turns into a whole big situation where basically the clans kind of split.
It turns into a fight.
Yeah, yeah,
Turns
it turns
into a
into
fight right there.
oh yeah, a bit
Um,
of a throwdown.
right. And when that happens, Rand uses the one power to bring rain. First time since the breaking of
Yes.
the world to bring rain to the waste, to the ale
Hmm.
waste. And
Which
his thinking is
it's
that
like that's
that'll
a huge
calm
sign.
things down,
Yeah,
prove who I am. Right.
yeah, and it kind of works, um, in that. I would imagine that coupled with the confirmation from the wise ones and obviously the clan chiefs of the truth of things are what get, I don't know if it's half or a little bit more than half, but it gets a significant portion of the ale on Rand's side. The other ones, however, who don't, who can't handle the truth or don't want to believe the truth, side with Culloden, and that, essentially splits the IO people more or less down the middle. Um,
I am not exactly, but you're
well,
they're not split down the middle. There are a lot of clans that never made it to Cold Rocks.
okay, yeah, that is right. That is
Right.
true.
Several several clans.
Oh, and I could be misremembering, but because of that, because you're right. There's several clans who can't make it to Cold Rock for this meeting. But isn't that when Rurik and some of the Tardad now then go out into the Ale to let them know what's happened? Because I remember that happens at some point. That some of the IL I think go out and kind of spread the word to the rest of what's going on. Or I could be misremembering.
No, well, the wise ones can spread the word because of their dream abilities. So that's
Oh,
how
okay.
they
That's
communicate
that. I
over.
think that's where. Yeah, that's where I'm
Yep.
confusing the two. Because I know, yeah, you're right that not everyone can make it, but the word does get out to everyone else. Because I remember after, like, obviously this is a bit ahead, but you know, other people come join. Uh, mm,
Hmm.
damn, so much happens just for that, just for that, for those people.
Right. Well, and okay, so now there's fighting among the ale at this point. Okay,
Mm,
because that piece they are definitely divided. Um, but you have two supposed dragon reborns now because Kaladin leaves with the Shadow and insists that he is the true dragon reborn. Um, this truth about the past of the ale has been revealed, and a lot of the it completely blows their mind. I mean, you know there's literally these warriors that essentially just drop their spears and walk off. They don't,
mhm.
you know what I mean. Their whole life now is meaningless. They don't, to them they don't understand how this could
Yeah,
be.
yeah, because the lie, everything they knew was is built off of a lie essentially,
Right,
and like it's like it's a combination of punches. They, their whole way of life is built off of a lie, and then the 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 core tenets of who they are, keeping your oaths, keeping your word, all that stuff are all built off of that lie, which was breaking of your word, breaking, of your oaths, in that being part of the way of the leaf or whatever. So yeah, that
right.
a lot of that, and honestly, that's typically what happens to individuals who fail in either becoming a wise one or a clan chief, is that they can't handle that truth because they question who they are now.
So now that this happens, okay, there Jason the Till as Modian reveals himself.
Yep.
Okay, um, Rand leaves, and basically by a form of traveling is skiffing or skipping or whatever they call it. Um,
Yeah, he opens another gate, I
right,
think,
to
doesn't he?
chase after Asmodian. Okay, um, they're headed back to Ryodan. Now Rand doesn't know this, but they're headed back to Ryodan. Okay, um, when they get there, they obviously these two get into a fight. Now the reason that Asmodian was headed back to Ryodan, okay, and this plays back to something you were talking about earlier on when we were talking about Calendar, okay, because there
Mm.
is this one thing that is more powerful, all right, and that's called the Chodan Call. It's a
Vaguely
pair
remember.
it's a pair of sangreals that were developed to work together, one using Theoden and the other using Theoder. And the only way they're the
That's
huge
right.
statues,
That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
I
The
remember them.
only way to access them is with these keys, which are basically miniature replicas of the statues, and you use the
Yeah, I
keys
remember
to
them. Yep.
access them, right? That's they're called the Chodan Call. And Asmodean, seeing that Rand probably really is the Dragon Reborn,
He's like, oh shit, this guy's a real deal.
right, goes after these keys. Um, in Ryodan, I believe it's in Ryodan, they get into a fight and Lanfur appears, and
Mhm.
Lanfur shields Asmodean, putting a shield on him that only it mostly shields him. He can still touch the source. He's just really really weak. Can't really touch it much.
Yeah.
So Rand, she puts a shield on him and then gives him to Rand to teach him how to use his power. And that's Rand's first teacher in Theoden is the Forsaken Asmodean. Um, Asmodean. So Rand actually in this fight does something very similar to what he had done in the earlier fight, and ends up cutting Asmodean off from the Dark One.
hmm Which
So
that's a big deal.
right, and so Asmodean now, because the Dark One's power protected him from the taint, so now he doesn't have that. So he has no protection from the taint, and he knows that the Shadow is going to think of him as being a traitor. So he really has no,
He's
you
got to
know,
hitch his horse to Rand. He's like, yo, you got to
right,
win this, or I'm cooked.
right, exactly.
Yep. So he takes on the role of teaching Rand. Um, and here's the thing: it's surprising that Asmodean he got scrubbed. Jesus, I feel so bad for him. But he as a character he grows on you for sure. He grows on you as a character. But yeah, he becomes Rand's teacher essentially in Sidar, and the I still, at least at this point, you still don't understand why Lanfear did what she did. Her loyalties are suspect. It's like she's loyal to herself. I mean,
Yeah, very much so.
most of them are loyal to themselves.
Very much so. I think that's a very good way to look at it. And she's still in love with the idea of Lewis Thurn. So,
Yeah, she very much. She's hoping he'll come back one day. He'll remember. It's like
well,
nah.
well, man, we are at our 2 hours. I haven't covered everything in the book, but that's all right. It
Yeah,
leaves a lot out there for people to go. There's so much more to this book. Um,
there's a lot of that happens, and again,
right,
this is very much the I think it's this the first major turning point outside of book one,
right,
um, in the series where things are again they're good. In book one, they left the two rivers and kind of that small little
right.
insular piece and stepped onto the world stage. Now, through books two, three, and now four. Now they're you know they're
Shit starts getting
players.
serious.
Yeah, they're players on the world stage now. Now shit's getting real. Because they're getting attacked by everything under the sun, especially if you're
Right.
Rand. The Dark One and the Forsaken are throwing everything in the kitchen fucking sink at you at this point. And it's only going to ramp up from here.
Well, and just to give you so we pretty much we've covered a good sized chunk, but definitely not all of Rand's story piece in here. I mean, we're really only up to like the first maybe 20 chapters in the book, and there's I believe 52.
Mhm.
Yeah, I noticed it, Infinity. I just I noticed it. I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it because I didn't change it to book four, and so yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's book three. Honestly, book three is one of my favorite books. So
Book
this
three is a
one,
good one.
I book three, book four, book five are really awesome. All of them are awesome, but these three really kind of drive you into the story. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, so there's a lot out there that we did not talk about today. We kind of only drove you through a part of it. This particular book is the majority of this book. So like I don't know, 30% of the book is about Pern's story
Yeah,
in the
that's
Two
the one
Rivers.
we didn't get to,
Right.
but we will probably get to the
When we
next
don't
week
right, well, we don't
or
need
the
to
week next.
I don't think we need to tell people about the whole book. It's just
True,
this
we
is
gotta leave. We
just
gotta leave something out there.
right. This is a taste, and hey, if you want us to talk more about this book, and the story here, for whatever reason, join the Discord if you're not in the Discord already, and just let us know. Hey, if you want to hear about it, we'll gladly talk about it. Yeah, I think that is a good spot to kind of let it go tonight, man.
Yeah,
All right. Infinity Core, you're awesome, man. Thank you for being here and chatting with us and sharing some ideas tonight. Fantastic. Thank you for everybody else who has dropped by tonight and listened to the story and just checking things out, or who is watching this video online. If you are just watching this video on YouTube and you're interested in hearing more of this content, then definitely give us a subscribe, follow us
mhm,
on Twitch, join our Discord, wherever you need to do. It's all free, so nothing to worry about there. Um, Come hang out with us. We'll
yeah,
gladly will be telling more about this series. We also do games for RPGs. Story. We're content creators.
yep,
So the story piece, we're taking a little bit of a break right now as we prepare some new stuff, some new stories. We are going to be focusing our attention on some different systems. We do have a large cyberpunk stream that's out there. We have some for the Alien universe. We have some for the Witcher universe. Uh, Pirate Board. So just check out our video library. You'll see. Um, and then we also have the update log. Rob, you want to tell them about that?
yes. So the update log is basically where we talk about all industry news from video games to JRPGs, everything in the middle. It airs every week Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST, right here on the Razzmatazz channel. Come join us. We'd love to hear from our audience about the games that they play, what they think, their experiences, with video games and certain genres, et cetera, et cetera. Um, we'd just like to hang out with you guys. But yeah, episode 63 will be airing, I believe 63,
Yep,
62 or 63. I'm pretty sure it's 63.
63
Will be, yeah, will be airing
Wednesday.
next week, Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And then next week, Thursday, we are going to do one of the final three episodes of the BOR, which is
Hmm.
our current Cyberpunk stream. So definitely check those out. Some exciting stuff as we kind of wrap up that series and begin to move into the next one. Um,
Yeah,
Thank you all for being here. Have a good
indeed.
evening.